Welcome to our US Briefing Show. Today, we're diving into some hot topics from around the globe. First up, tensions are rising over US restrictions on Chinese student visas, sparking protests from Beijing and a fierce debate back home. The US is tightening scrutiny on Chinese students, especially in critical fields, which has stirred up accusations of discrimination and xenophobia. It's a diplomatic tug-of-war that's got everyone talking. Next, we look to space. Elon Musk believes there's a 50-50 chance that SpaceX's Starship will make its first uncrewed trip to Mars by late 2026. The countdown is on, but recent test flights haven't gone perfectly, and the timeline depends on hitting some big technical milestones. Still, Musk's dream of colonizing Mars is alive and kicking. Finally, Bangladesh's vital garment sector is facing a tough patch. Despite export growth, trade barriers from the US and India, along with internal unrest, threaten its future. The industry is trying to adapt through innovation and diversification, but ongoing challenges mean it's a delicate balancing act. Stay tuned as these stories continue to unfold. Please continue to enjoy the full details. South China Morning Post reports that the United States' recent decision to revoke Chinese student visas has ignited a fierce diplomatic and domestic backlash, with the Chinese embassy in Washington issuing a formal protest and condemning the move as xenophobic and politically motivated. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced plans to scrutinize and cancel visas for Chinese students, especially those in critical fields or with connections to the Communist Party, citing national security concerns about exploitation and theft of U.S. research. This policy has faced strong opposition from Democratic lawmakers and civil society groups, who argue it damages U.S. higher education, undermines fairness, and unfairly targets Chinese students, reminiscent of historical xenophobic policies like the Chinese Exclusion Act. Conversely, some Republicans support the move, viewing it as a necessary safeguard against espionage, highlighting the deepening U.S.-China tensions over security and influence in academia. The controversy underscores the broader strategic contest, as the U.S. seeks to curb China's influence while balancing diplomatic relations and the economic importance of Chinese students studying in the U.S. Meanwhile, the South China Morning Post also features insights from a Chinese economist warning that financial sanctions could become a new battleground in the US-China rivalry. Lian Ping cautions that although full-scale sanctions like cutting China off from the SWIFT payment system or freezing US dollar assets are unlikely, the US might target specific Chinese entities, gradually expanding measures to weaken China's financial integration. He emphasizes that such actions could backfire, damaging the US dollar's dominance, especially if China responds by increasing its use of alternative payment systems like CIPS or by holding a strategic amount of US treasuries to counteract sanctions. Lian warns that regional conflicts, particularly over Taiwan, might be exploited by Western powers to justify more aggressive financial measures, including the potential to freeze Chinese assets under false pretenses. To prepare, China is advised to accelerate its yuan internationalization, diversify its financial strategies, and foster global neutrality, aiming to counterbalance U.S. economic pressure and safeguard its sovereignty in an increasingly tense geopolitical climate. Al Jazeera vividly recounts the inspiring story of Greta Thunberg, the Swedish climate activist, joining the Freedom Flotilla coalition's daring attempt to break Israel's blockade of Gaza. As the Madeleine prepares to set sail from Catania, Sicily, with a cargo of humanitarian aid and a crew of prominent figures, including Thunberg, Liam Cunningham, and Rima Hassan, the scene is charged with a powerful message of resistance and solidarity. The mission, echoing the failed May attempt, aims to challenge the ongoing siege that has left Gaza on the brink of famine, with UN warnings of catastrophic hunger and starvation looming. The activists' protest underscores the urgency of ending Israel's blockade, which has been criticized internationally for weaponizing aid and exacerbating the suffering of Gaza's residents, amidst chaotic scenes at aid distribution points and a global call for justice. Reuters Breaking Views provides a colorful and skeptical look at Japan's ambitious plan to create a $300 billion sovereign wealth fund in partnership with the United States, driven by SoftBank's Masayoshi Son. This proposal, reminiscent of past grandiose schemes, aims to leverage Japan's vast foreign reserves to fund infrastructure projects in the U.S., potentially easing trade tensions and offering a strategic economic alliance. However, the article highlights the lofty nature of this fantasy finance, pointing out the numerous hurdles, such as political support, the risk of U.S. policy shifts, and the questionable track record of Son's investments, that threaten its feasibility. It paints a picture of a risky, perhaps impractical venture that could divert funds from more stable investments and underscores the broader damage inflicted on Asian economies by the ongoing trade war, casting doubt on the scheme's real-world prospects. Al Jazeera's coverage of Elon Musk's interplanetary ambitions offers a compelling narrative of hope, setbacks, and determination. Musk's declaration of a 50-50 chance that SpaceX's Starship will reach Mars uncrewed by late 2026 is set against a backdrop of recent failures, including a disintegrated rocket during a test flight and repeated delays. The story captures Musk's visionary zeal as he describes the Texas-based Starbase as humanity's gateway to the stars, with plans to send humanoid robots and eventually human crews to the Red Planet. Despite the setbacks, Musk remains optimistic, emphasizing the importance of testing and data collection in his quest to colonize Mars, all while balancing the tumult of his business empire and recent political shifts. His relentless pursuit of interplanetary exploration embodies the ambitious spirit of innovation, even amid repeated technical failures and the immense challenge of turning science fiction into reality. Nikkei Asia vividly illustrates the tumultuous state of Bangladesh's garment industry, a vital sector that has surprisingly maintained a 10% year-on-year growth despite facing a barrage of challenges. The industry, which accounts for about 80% of Bangladesh's exports and employs millions, is caught in a perfect storm of external trade barriers and internal political unrest. India's recent restrictions on the import of Bangladeshi garments and yarn, coupled with the US threatening a 37% tariff, have severely disrupted supply chains and increased costs. The suspension of Indian transshipment facilities has forced shipments to take longer and become more expensive, as Bangladesh struggles with limited direct shipping options. Meanwhile, rising production costs, gas shortages, protests, and factory closures, over 200 since the political upheaval, compound the difficulties. Despite these hurdles, the industry's resilience is driven by the ingenuity of entrepreneurs who have diversified products and markets, improving quality to retain buyer confidence. Yet, the future remains uncertain, especially for smaller factories, as ongoing instability threatens to derail the current growth trajectory and calls for policy support and market diversification. Cambodia's Prime Minister Hun Manet emphasizes the importance of industrial recalibrations amid U.S. tariffs that threaten the country's economic stability. Following President Trump's announcement of a 49% reciprocal tariff on Cambodia, aimed at curbing Chinese transshipment, the Cambodian leader advocates for boosting domestic production and fostering homegrown content, urging industrialists to become producers themselves. His speech, delivered at Tokyo's Future of Asia Forum, underscores the necessity of trust-based international cooperation and highlights regional tensions, including recent clashes with Thailand over disputed borders. Despite these conflicts, Hun Manet underscores Cambodia's commitment to peace, recalling the 30 years it took to end their past war, and calls for prioritizing peace over extremism. His message reflects a cautious optimism that, despite rising tensions, the region can maintain stability if nations value peace and work towards mutual understanding. He advocates for strategic industrial shifts as a means to navigate the economic pressures created by U.S. tariffs, emphasizing that resilience and domestic development are crucial for Cambodia's continued prosperity. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation details how President Trump's grasp on his tariff policies is slipping amid legal challenges and internal contradictions. A recent court ruling declared that Trump overstepped his presidential powers by unilaterally imposing tariffs, casting doubt on the future of his aggressive trade strategy. Despite this judicial setback, Trump's administration continues to defend his use of executive orders and tariffs, arguing they are necessary in times of national emergency. His reliance on tariffs as a tool to incentivize domestic manufacturing and coerce foreign governments has been a hallmark of his economic approach, but the legal uncertainties threaten to undermine these efforts. While some tariffs, like those on steel and aluminum, remain unaffected, the broader country-specific reciprocal tariffs are under scrutiny, leaving investors optimistic about a potential rollback. Trump's persistent advocacy for tariffs, despite their controversial impact on trade and economic growth, reflects his unwavering belief in their power to reshape global commerce. Yet, the ongoing court battles and legal ambiguities cast a shadow over his ability to wield these tariffs effectively, leaving the future of his trade policies hanging in the balance amid a complex web of legal and political challenges. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.